My name is Nicholas Oguge, a professor of environmental policy at the University of Nairobi, Kenya. And today I'd like to have a conversation with you about a new global network known as the Governing Plastics Network. But first, let's talk a little bit about plastics. Plastic is a generic term for a wide range of synthetic and non-synthetic organic solid material. And they provide many functions. We have water pipes, for instance, and medical devices, and even food packaging. But we have environmental cost to their production, as well as use and disposal. This also causes some social problems, particularly in developing countries. Now, the single-use types that we use, particularly things like straws and food packages, contribute a substantial amount of wastes. And when we talk about waste, then what do we mean? We mean an object that we find no value in it, as well as no liable owner. So plastic waste is not only a social and economic problem, but also an environmental one, as well as public health ones. This is because some plastic fibrous material, when we breathe them, they can inflame our lungs. We can also dissolve them into our system and create other forms of diseases. The problem of waste typifies many problems that we experience in developing countries, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. We associate it with poverty issues, poor working conditions, and environmental degradation. Plastic waste is forecast to constitute around 13% of municipal wastes in sub-Saharan Africa. And will constitute about 9 to 13% of solid waste in major cities in East Africa by 2025. Now, its regulatory reform would need to focus on transformation right from design. How do we design these plastics so that we generate less waste? The production itself, how we use, and also how we can recycle them. Now, for us to do that, we need innovative governance approaches. And such innovative approaches can only be generated if we are having this conversation amongst our people within the region, but also globally. Now, it's because of this that the University of Nairobi, in partnership with the University of Surrey, is establishing the Governing Plastics Network. The initial target is to develop networks in 6 countries in Eastern Africa, namely Ethiopia, Kenya, Malawi, Rwanda, Uganda, and Tanzania. But subsequently, we want this to be a global network. Now, this network is being funded by the United Kingdom Research and Innovation, and it's actually funding 2 projects that form the network. The first project is known as the Global Challenges Research Fund Plastic Pollution Governance Framework Network. And it is implemented with University of Nairobi as the lead institution and University of Surrey as the core institution. I'd like to also introduce to you Professor Rosalind Malcolm. And Professor Malcolm is from the University of Surrey, and she is a principal investigator in this project. The second project, also funded by the UK Research and Innovation, is known as the Wicked Problem of Plastics and the Discourse Surrounding Its Governance. In this particular project, Professor Malcolm is the lead investigator, and the co-investigators are Dr. Itzia Castello Molina of the School of Business, University of Surrey, and myself. These 2 projects focus on regulatory instruments and other forms of governance, including policy and enforcement measures. The network will develop messages and communications in relation to the management of plastics in order to mitigate what we are referring to as environmental pollution that come out of plastic wastes. Now, I'd like to focus a little bit more on the GCRF Plastic Pollution Governance Framework Network. This is a project in which the lead investigator, and it has a 2-year funding from the UK, and it's of course based at the University of Nairobi and co-supported by University of Surrey. The vision is to contribute towards innovative approaches to plastic governance in Eastern African countries in order to mitigate environmental pollution. It has a number of objectives. The key ones is that the network will seek to identify drivers and pressures of plastics pollution. It will also try to determine people's attitudes towards the use and disposal of plastics. The impacts and mitigation of those impacts, and innovative and new governance forms that we can use to manage plastics waste, and to provide requisite evidence to support policy strategies. And the focus will be in the 6 countries that I had mentioned earlier. As we work on this particular project, we hope to establish a global knowledge network on innovation and circular activities, as well as new forms of governance that are being undertaken globally, as well as foster innovative plastic management tools for pollution reduction. The first engagement we're going to have is in early September this year, and this will be a Building Bridges meeting. During that meeting, we'll have a webinar where that we engage members of the network and also the general public, as well as encourage the general public to join the network as members. The other activity will be to establish links between researchers and practitioners for the network agenda in the 6 countries that we mentioned. And in the process, we'll also undertake what we call national roundtable events. And these events may be undertaken remotely or in face-to-face, depending on where we are at, given the current challenge of COVID-19 disease pandemic. This network will have a lot of engagement with the youth because we believe that they're not only innovative, but they're the future to enforcement, to support appropriate management of wastes, not only in the short term, but in the long term. Thank you very much for listening to me, and we welcome you into the network.
Hello, my name is Rosalind Malcolm. I'm a Professor of Environmental Law in the Environmental Regulatory Research Group at the School of Law in the University of Surrey in the UK. The second of the 2 network projects funded by the Global Challenges Research Fund, this time through the Arts and Humanities Research Council, is the wicked problem of plastics and the discourse surrounding its governance. It's a project which examines how organisational and local and national government actors frame messages about plastics and analyses how such communications translate into changes in behaviour and governance. Perception of plastics has changed from their early development some 50 years ago, from a world-changing positive development to a serious environmental problem, largely because of one of the key advantages they possess, their durability. Yet, although the problem of plastics waste is now recognised, the advantages of using plastic materials remain overwhelming. Preserving food, other hygienic purposes, and it's difficult to imagine a world without them. The issue of plastics waste is a wicked problem, in that thanks to its technical and social complexity, a visionary approach, such as the development of a circular plastics economy, is necessary to achieve its solution. The stories told around plastics, such as David Attenborough's Blue Planet documentary, or the famous images by the American photographer Chris Jordan, the dead baby albatross, influence the way in which they're managed, especially at the end of their life. This network project directly addresses such discourse, gathering information about the way the plastics story is told in different countries, and studying how that influences consumers, activists, regulators, and other decision makers. Thanks to messages such as that of Blue Planet, the wicked problem of plastics has been uppermost in most people's minds, with powerful imagery such as the photography of Chris Jordan starkly demonstrating to a global audience the extent of the problem. The analysis of such visual as well as written media, the stories they convey and the actions they influence, is key to our project, and we propose to examine the link between the messages conveyed by plastic waste imagery and their resulting influence on key groups of policymakers and decision makers, and ultimately legislation. We will look at the messages that have mobilised people to reduce their use of plastics, including single-use plastic, and how these messages around the use of plastics can confuse or cloud the issue, thus creating a potentially poor regulatory approach. We're looking for a way to tell a good story around plastics in the sense of a story which is accurate scientifically, reflects societal needs, and which produces good laws. Good laws are based on good science. Working together with our partners on the first project, the GCRF Plastics Pollution Governance Framework Network, we will build a publicly accessible database of information around the story, which is told about plastics from our 6 partner countries in Africa in the first instance, but then reaching out across the world to gather more data to build the picture on a comprehensive basis. We'll link the knowledge gained from both network projects to build expertise in getting the story about plastics right and drafting good laws based on knowledge and good science. Our first meeting later in September this year will start to build bridges across countries, continents, and cultures. And we invite all those interested in this wicked problem to join the Governing Plastics Network and take part in our first Building Bridges webinar. Thank you.